Hello everyone. This is our lesson for factoring using synthetic division. Before we get into that, I want to do a little bit of review on just synthetic division. If you scored low on quiz 3.5 or you haven't done 3.5 yet, you're going to want to really go through this review and get your notebook out and take notes. Regardless, you need your notebook today to take a little bit of notes. So today is factoring using synthetic division. You're definitely going to want to have your notebook or a piece of paper that you can write on. We'll start out with three problems to review synthetic division, and then we will get into factoring using synthetic division. So I'm going to do our first few review problems in my notebook. For me, today is November 9th. You might not be watching it on the same day. This is a review of synthetic division. So our first problem that we are going to review is x to the fourth plus 8x cubed plus 10x squared plus 2x plus 4, and we want to divide that by x minus 2. So we are dividing this polynomial by this binomial. So as a reminder, we draw, I call it the house, but it's upside down. And on the inside, we write the coefficients or the numbers that match each term. We have to make sure that we have a place for each term in the polynomial, meaning if we start with an x to the fourth, we need an x to the fourth, an x to the third, an x squared, an x, and a regular number. Then down for our answer, what we know is that our answer will be 1 degree less. Your answer will be 1 degree less. So down here, we'll end up with an x to the third, an x squared, x, number, remainder. The last number you get after you do synthetic division is your remainder. So inside the house, the coefficient on x to the fourth is 1. The coefficient on x to the third is 8. The coefficient on x squared is 10. The coefficient on x is 2. And then our constant or our number is 4. So in this case, we didn't need any placeholders or we didn't need to fill in any zeros. On the outside of the house, we need to put what x is. They tell us that they tell us to divide by x minus 2, which means that x is 2. So if they give us x minus 2, then what we need to use is x is 2. So now we put a positive 2 outside of the house. We bring this first term down and we multiply it by 2. 2 times 1 is 2. We put that in the house. Then we add. 8 plus 2 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. I think I told you something wrong. This is a negative 8. Right? Oh, pause. I think I did something wrong. BRB. Okay, I double checked. So this was a positive 8. So this is right so far. 8 plus 2 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. Add these, you get 30. 2 times 30 is 60. 2 plus 60 is 62. 2 times 62 is 124. Add those and you get a remainder of 128. Part of the reason why I'm using this as a review problem is because I want to make it clear what your quiz wanted you to plug in for a problem like this. So the first thing that we know is that x minus 2 is not a factor. If it were a factor, this remainder would have been 0. Your quiz will give you a blank for the quotient. And what they were expecting you to write in for the quotient is the following. We have 1x cubed, or just x cubed, plus 10x squared, plus 30x, plus 62. So that's what they were expecting for the quotient. Then they wanted to know the remainder. For the remainder, you would just plug in 128. So there are some questions on your quiz 3.5 where they would say, is this a factor, yes or no? You would say no. What is the quotient? You enter in from the first term to the number. What is the remainder? That is the last one that you get, so 128. Then you had a different type of problem. So this first problem was divide this polynomial by this binomial. Now we know it's not a factor and we can list out quotient remainder. The other kind that you get is an evaluate. Evaluate f of x equals x to the fourth plus 2x cubed minus 27x minus 54. When x is -2. Okay, so before I get too far into it, I'm going to set up my terms to make sure that I include everything that I need. So if I start with an x to the fourth, I need an x to the third, an x squared, an x, and a number. So the coefficient on x to the fourth is 1. The coefficient on x cubed is 2. The coefficient on x squared is 0 because you do not have an x squared term in this function. The coefficient for x is -27, and the number is -54, or the constant. Now this time outside of the house, we put what they give us. We put x is -2. Why? Because that's what we always want. We always want to use what x is. Remember, up here we had x -2, so we needed to change it to what x is. So in this one, they just give us what x is. Okay, we bring down the first number. That gives me a 1. 1 times -2 is -2. When you add these, they cancel. -2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. -2 times 0 is 0. Plus -27 is -27. So far we have 1, 0, 0, -27. So our last one is -2, times negative 27 is a positive 54. Add those, and the last term cancels out. Now notice on this one, I did not do what I did up here. I did not go underneath and say, okay, well my answer then is going to be an x cubed, x squared, so on. The reason why is because this is just asking us to evaluate. This is just asking us to evaluate, which means what you would plug into Canvas, what your answer would be is 0. So all you need to plug into your quiz for a problem like this is the remainder of 0. We also now know that x plus 2 is a factor of this polynomial. Why x plus 2? Because you have to put it back in polynomial form. So up here we had an x minus 2, meaning x was 2. Down here we have an x is negative 2, so that means it started as an x plus 2. And now we know x plus 2 is a factor of this. Okay, so this is going to take us into our last review problem, and this is what we are going to connect to our lesson for today. So we're going to be doing a lot of synthetic division today. So let's take x cubed plus 9x squared plus 23x plus 15, and let's divide it by x plus 5. So I'm going to set up my terms first. If I start with an x cubed, I need an x cubed, an x squared, an x, and a constant, which means that my answer will be an x squared, an x, a constant, and a remainder. If it's telling you to divide or it's telling you to factor, it's always best to write these two things. Okay, we fill in, actually from here, I'm just going to silently work through it, and I think that you guys should try this one on your own. I'd go as far as getting to the remainder. I'll tell you when I'm done, and if you're not done yet, you should pause and really try this, because this is what you'll be doing today. So you try this synthetic division, and I'm just going to work silently while you work silently. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds. $20. 10. 5. 3. 2. Okay, so what I got is a remainder of 0. So that means that x plus 5 is a factor. Now, here's what's going to happen today. We are now going to rewrite this as a trinomial. So I'm going to bring this down. Well, bring it up actually. I'm going to take this right here and I'm going to write it up here. This is x squared plus 4x plus 3. And what we're expected to do now is to keep factoring. On a lot of these problems today, the trinomials that you will have to factor are pretty simple. The biggest struggle that I see you guys have on factoring these is your signs. Sometimes you get your signs messed up. So even when it is a super easy one, like the one you're looking at here, I'm still going to use the method that I taught you. So I'm going to list all of the factors of 3. Well, that's only 1 and 3. This plus sign tells me to add them. So that's going to give me a 4. These two things need to match, and they match exactly, which means that my factors of this trinomial are x plus 1 times x plus 3. But wait, we still have that x plus 5 at the top that we know is a factor. This is our final answer. This is what we're doing today. We factored this polynomial with a degree of 3 into these 3 factors. So what I want you to notice is that this is a degree of 3, meaning that we have an x cubed, our highest exponent is a 3, and we ended up with 3 factors. It would have been the same for this one. We have a degree of 3, which means if we would have kept working this, we would have gotten 3 binomials. This one is different though. He has a degree of 4, so he would have 4 factors. So we first use synthetic division to get a trinomial that we know how to factor. We don't know how to factor this guy, but we do know how to factor this one. So we use synthetic division to get there. I would leave your notebook out, just set it to the side. And before I forget, you should definitely use your notebook on your quiz today because you are going to be doing a lot of synthetic division. So we're going to transition to our notebook now, and in our notebook we are on page 41. So number 1 is going to be very similar to the problem we just did. Notice it says find all the factors of this polynomial if you know x plus 3 is a factor. So knowing x plus 3 is going to help us change this polynomial into a trinomial that we can factor. Remember, the degree of 3 or the exponent of 3 means that we're going to have 3 factors. So by the time we're done, we'll have 3 binomials. That's what this little degree symbol here tells us. Maybe I should highlight that in one of these colors. Okay, so this starts with synthetic division. So I have an x cubed, so I need an x squared, an x, and a constant. Then what I will get out for the trinomial is an x squared, an x, and a constant. You will not have a remainder, or your remainder, you don't have a remainder because it is 0. So does that mean you have a remainder? That's a weird thing to say. We know that this is going to end up being 0 because they flat out tell us x plus 3 is a factor. So if you go through and do your math and don't end up with a 0 here, something went wrong. Okay, let's fill in our numbers. The coefficient on x cubed is 1. The coefficient on x squared is -2. The coefficient on x is -9. And the constant is 18. Outside of the house, I'm putting -3. So they tell us x plus 3, which means we need to know that that means x is -3. We bring down the 1. 1 times -3 is -3, and we add those. -2 plus -3 is -5. -5 plus -3 times -5 is a +15. -9 plus 15 is 6. -3 times 6 is -18. And that does give you a remainder of 0. So now we want to take this quotient and we can rewrite it as the trinomial x squared minus 5x plus 6. So this is your x squared. This is your x, this is your constant. So this purple circle turns into that purple trinomial. Now I list out all of the factors of 6 because I like to be right. So I go the long way every time so that I can be right. Factors are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. This plus sign right here tells me to add these. 1 plus 6 is 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. So this one definitely doesn't work. Okay, well, I have a 5 here, but this one is a -5. So hopefully you're remembering that when that happens, you need to change the signs. You need to change the signs on your factors. So if this is supposed to be a -5, you can make it negative, but then you also need to make the 2 negative and the 3 negative. You have to change all of the signs. So from this, we get that our factors are x minus 2, x minus 3, and x plus 3. You don't want to forget the factor that they gave you in the beginning. So this says find all of the factors. And remember, before we started, I said, okay, you find, by the time we get done, you find 3 binomials. That's exactly what we have down here. 3 binomials. Okay, so on this one, I think that you should pause the video and do the synthetic division part. So let's see if you can get all the way to this trinomial. I think you should pause this video and try to get all the way to what the trinomial would equal. I'm going to pause my video so that I can do it. You pause your video and then we'll come back together when we're both done. Okay, I'm back and I have a trinomial of x squared plus 14x plus 48. So you can see my math over here on the synthetic division. This is now what I need to factor. So I'm going to go the long way, I'm going to list all of the factors of 48. So that's 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 6 and 8. Then this plus sign tells me that I need to add all of these. And the only set that adds to 14 is the very last one of 6 and 8. This 14 is positive and our sum is positive. So that means that our factors are x plus 6, x plus 8, plus the x minus 2 they gave us at the beginning of the problem. So what we're doing here is using synthetic division to get a trinomial that we can factor. They're going to give us a polynomial, and we're going to use synthetic division to get a trinomial that we can factor. Okay, this next one is a little bit more complicated. Once again, I want you to pause and see if you can get the trinomial on your own. So just go to the trinomial and then we'll join each other and I'll show you how to solve this one because he's a little bit different. Okay, so I end up getting a trinomial of 2x squared plus 8x plus 6. And now I need to take a little bit of a pause because these trinomials, we've done 3 of these so far, and each time it was just an x squared. And now all of a sudden we have a 2x. Well, what I want you to notice is this number has a 2. This number can be divided by 2, and this number can be divided by 2. So what we're supposed to do is take the 2 out so that we can factor the trinomial. And what that turns into is 2 times x squared plus 4x plus 3. X squared plus 4x plus 3. And now we can factor that. In fact, we've already factored this today. We know that x squared plus 4x plus 3 have the factors of 1 and 3. So we have to be careful on this answer though, because there's 2 things we need to make sure that we keep track of. We need to make sure that we keep that 2 on the front, x plus 1, x plus 3, and then we bring down the factor that they gave us in the beginning of the problem. So this is an example of where we have to factor out a GCF first. There is one on the quiz like this. There is one on the quiz just like this. And the number that you factor out will be a 2. Okay, that is the basics of our lesson, but we're going to see some other kinds of problems on our quiz using this method. So we're going to flip the page and we're going to go through our last 3 problems. They're going to be similar to quiz problems. First question says, which binomials are factors of 2x cubed plus x squared minus 13x plus 6? Okay, well, first of all, this 3 tells us that we're going to have 3 binomials, which means that the easiest way to do this is to check these until you get one that works. How will we know that it works? Because your remainder will be 0. So I will check the first one with you. Your number outside the house is going to be -1. Inside the house, you're going to have 2, 1, -13, and 6. Bring down the 2. -1 times 2 is -2. Add those, you get -1. -1 times -1 is a +1. Add those, you get -12. -1 and -12 go to 12, and we get a remainder of 18. So A is not a factor. Now we check the next one. We would have a +1 outside the house. Inside the house is the same. And we do the method again. Drop down the 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. -13 plus 3 is -10. 1 times -10 is -10, which gives us a remainder of -4. So that means B is not an option. Now I check C. -2 outside the house, same inside. Drop down the 2. -2 times 2 is -4. Add them, you get -3. -2 times -3 is 6. Add them, we get -7. 2 times -7 is 14, gives us a remainder of 20, so it's not C. Then you go through, now that I've done 3 with you, I want you to pause the video and check the next 3. You check them all until you get 3 binomials. If you never get 3, you only get 2, then those are the ones you circle. If you only get 1, then that's the one that you circle. So you're going to pause and do this same method for D, E, and F. So you need to check them all. I'm going to pause. Once you are done, we'll come back together. Okay, after working through them all, I get D and E are factors. So we're still missing one because we're supposed to have 3, but of this list that they gave us, it's x minus 2 and x plus 3. You can see over here that I worked them out. So this first one is A, B, C, D, E, F. I know that that's a long process, but it's doable. Okay, next up is one that you can totally do on your own without me. So you should pause. In fact, we're going to pause and you're going to try 5 and 6. So number 5 says divide by x plus 2 and then circle the remainder. So this won't be a factor. You're going to end up getting a number in the last position. And then the last one says, is x plus 7 a factor of this polynomial? So you're going to use synthetic division on both of these. Now, just as a helpful hint, you need 0 as your placeholder in both. So make sure that when you do your house, you have a 0 in both of them, or else your answer will be wrong. Okay, go. Really try it. Okay, I'm back with answers. On number 5, I got a remainder of 84. You needed 2 zeros in this case as your placeholder. So the answer is C as in cat. Then number 6 is not a factor. X plus 7 is not a factor because it had a remainder of -2. Okay, so that gets us through the lesson. Because we're not in class together and I'm not there to help you, I am going to make another video going through the quiz. Now, I'm not going to go through and do all the problems on the quiz. I'm just going to go through and tell you, if it's unclear, I'm going to tell you what the question is asking you for. And if you need a hint, I'm going to give you a hint. The reason why I'm doing this is because last time when we did this lesson, I didn't make it clear enough what they expected you to plug in. So like a quotient, they wanted the first 4 terms, and then the remainder, they only wanted a number. Same with this one on the evaluate. So I'm going to go through each question on the quiz in another video just to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Now, when you're ready to take the quiz, you should have your quiz open in one screen and me open on another page so that you can just quickly watch as you do the problems. I'll only be talking for like, I would say 2 minutes max on each problem, if even that. I'm really just going to go in and make sure that you know what they expect you to type in, or you know what they're asking you to look for. So that's it. If you made it to the end, great work. I'm proud of you. Love you. Hope I get to see you soon.